So the question we left off with is what does it mean when we say Mekayim and Munaso Lishenei Afar? What does that mean?
You fulfill the faith of the sleepers in the dust.
Right. Sounds good, right? I feel it fits into everything else said before. It's the ultimate contrast. In other words, God even extends the idea of the contrast, where He takes the person not when you're dead, but in thinking about death presents a certain notion of finality. Like, what's going to happen after that? That's what death is. Like the Rambam says in the Igeres Chesamesim, you're born and then you just slowly die. Right? So dying is the inevitable final point in a person's existence.
Rambam was real true.
So the point is that if a person looks at Misa in such a way as a finality, not in an intellectual way, denying Tchias Mesim, okay, but more in a psychological way, it's normative to think that death is the end. So what it's saying is that no, even in the area of Gvura, Kadosh Baruch Hu also will. I mean, and again, it's a high expression of it, but also will provide for the person who's dead. He can come back and give what do you call it, and return in his role. I don't care which Rishon you hold like. It's the phenomenon of Tchias Mesim, not which version of Tchias Mesim will take place. Yes. I mean, this is completely drushy, so we're going to go on a speculative limb here. So I don't. I want to put that caveat in place, but you could. Okay. So you could argue. Maybe you could say that that Lishenei Afar really is the way that the person on some level relates to the dead. In other words, like this. In other words, we did answer that last week. So let's just go on to the next point. So then after that we say Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros U'Midom Malach. Right? Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros U'Midom Malach.
Parshas.
What do you have to ask on Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros U'Midom Malach? The easy question. Come on. What's the question you have to ask on that? Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros U'Midom Malach. Yeah. Rhetorical.
Yes.
Why
are you asking it?
It's not a request. You just say. I mean, okay. You're saying it is rhetorical, but I'm saying, but in the sentence itself, what stands out? Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros. What does Mi Chamocha Baal Gvros mean?
Who is like you?
Master of Gvura. Who is like you, Master of Gvura? Right. And what do we say about that? Who is? Right. So what's the question? It's repetitive, right? Kamocha and Doma seem to. I mean, if you look at the little translation, it sounds like it's the same word. Oh, we know in Az Yashir, what do we say? I know it's the same word, but there's a similar thing. Okay, and then what do we say afterwards? Mikamocha B'Elim Hashem, Mikamocha Neder HaKodesh. Okay, so again, you have. I know one's Doma, one's Kamocha, but here you'll see how it does compare. In the case of Shemona Esrei, we say Mikamocha Baal Gvros U'Midom Malach. So we're saying God is synonymous with the Baal Gvuros, right? Lach is synonymous with Baal Gvuros. By Az Yashir, we say Mikamocha, who's like you among the
powers?
What?
Powers.
The heavenly powers, and Mikamocha Neder HaKodesh, which means who's like you. What's Neder HaKodesh?
Adir is nice, isn't that Adir?
Yeah, but it's Neder HaKodesh, meaning who's like you in what realm? Okay, the realm of Kedusha. All right. So what do we mean by? Why do we say that? So Ramban alludes to this, but what do we mean by that when we say in Az Yashir? Come on, you say it every day in davening also. What do we mean by that? Why do we say it twice? Why isn't one sufficient? Mikamocha Baal Gvros.
It's a contrast. One negative thing versus two positive things.
You can go even further than that. That's good. That's good. You can take that a step further.
Why do we say in Shemona Esrei if we already said in Yash?
No. I just want to know. I'm saying, what does it mean to say Mikamocha Baal Gvros? Excuse me, Mikamocha B'Elim Hashem, Mikamocha Neder HaKodesh. What are we saying both? We're going to get to Shemona Esrei. It's the same idea though. So what do you say both for? As a general concept, whenever you have this is a good methodology thing. When you see this often in Tefilah or in other things that Chazal write, when you see these types of things, the redundancy.
Is it like two sides of the same coin?
Better. What do you mean?
Well, I mean.
So the first statement is saying who is like you, God, in relation to the Malachim, right? The second one is who is like you, God, in relation to what? Neder HaKodesh.
What about Gvros?
We're going to get to Shemona Esrei. Hold on. You'll see how. What?
Why not Malachim too in there?
Then it'd be repetitive. So what must you say?
It's different heavenly.
No, this comes up all the time in davening and Tehillim, etc. Always. It's always about this type of method. It's the same objective idea.
It's like every other pasuk.
Same objective. There's an objective in the idea, but it's like there's two ways you express it. right? So one of them is saying God in relation to the Malachim. That's easy, right? Whereas when we talk about the greatness of God, we say God is great, and what do we use to ascertain His greatness?
The greatest thing we have.
Well, that we know of. So in the AP scale, in the ranking system, so God's number one, meaning relative to everything else, God is the greatest, right? But it's always insufficient to end off with that, because ultimately, then the next thing we have to always say is,
He's way past that.
well, there's nothing like God.
Right.
In other words, there's always, the way Chazal always write, or whatever, I don't care who, I'm saying, the way these things are always written is, there's the relativistic statement, and then there's the objective statement. There's, God is great relative to what we know, and then we have to make a statement that God is objectively great. There's nothing like God.
There's
No, it's not. It's not a relative statement. It's not a relative statement. No. What it means is that there is nothing like God. The difference between saying, you can think about it. There's a difference between saying there's nothing like God relative to that which we know, that we can identify and relate to, and then there's another statement saying that God is unlike anything. Like, as an existence, there's nothing like God. Qua God. Not qua anything else. Qua God. Via God. Relative to God. We discuss the greatness of God, we have to recognize that even in our assessment of greatness, what's lacking? Right. Even in the very establishment of the greatness of God, there's always something lacking in that assessment. Because do we really understand the greatness of God?
No.
So that we can make an objective statement that He's great.
Quantitative explanation.
Because you can't, whenever it comes to, this is the idea of Dibra Torah Lashem B'nei Adam, that when it comes to dealing with God, you must always start with what you can relate to first. Right? That's why the Torah, for instance, the Torah describes God, it brought down the Kuzari and Chavos Lavavos. Like, why did the Torah just call God Kadosh? Or just call Him by Shem Hashem? Yukei Bavkei. Why don't they say by these kinuyim or getting even further, like the descriptions of Him emotionally? Because the thing is, man needs some way to identify God. You need to use this world to start. That's a starting point. But so we have no choice. We're limited by who we are as creatures. We must rely on this world. But with that said, a person has to recognize that even in those statements, there's always a limiting factor. We're never really truly understanding who God is. Mika mocha ba gvuros. No one is like you when it comes to gvura. In the ranking system of gvura, you are at the top, right? Umi dom elach. That means that objectively speaking, there is nothing like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. God is distinct, qualitatively distinct from everything.
What makes sense?
Not just that His gvura is greater than all the gvuros, but the very notion of gvura itself by God is a different gvura altogether. What?
Gvura only wants God.
Correct. In other words, the true idea of gvura only wants a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Only God has that. But you need both. If you don't have both, if you only had the second, you wouldn't know how to relate to Him. So the first one is the way we relate to Him because of our limited knowledge, but you also always must recognize, and you'll see the same exact format, not to cheat ahead, Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh. You'll see the exact same format there also. It's over and over again. You see this in Tehillim and in Tefilah. This notion of, there's the relativistic statement of God, and then there's the objective statement about God. So that's Micha Malach Midah Malach. Malachim, again, from the perspective of God, okay, from, so to speak, Halavai, right?
What did they say?
Right, there's no difference between Malachim and man. They're equally as far removed from God. You know what I mean? From God's perspective. From our perspective, Malachim are closer, so to speak.
How are they really closer, though?
Because we're not getting to share Malachim now, but Malachim are non-physical existences that are guiding unless God sends them on a mission. Well, that's a relativistic statement. They're closer than us, but you can't say they're any closer. Yes, after that statement. Melech? Back that again, right? Can't escape that theme. Melech, Memis, Chaya, and then what do we say afterwards? So now we got a whole another jumble here, right? Melech, Memis, Chaya, Masmiach Yeshua. Now just think a little linguistically for a second. I think, no, not linguistic. Sorry, in a literary way. Okay, where does the same type of formulation exist? We said it previously. Granted, it's a slightly different spot. We said it previously. Melech, Ozer, Mashiach. Again, right? So Melech, it's not a coincidence. It's written this way. Melech, Ozer. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of approach. I know that's interesting that you have Melech, Ozer, Mashiach. Again, and again, Melech. Memis Umchayim Atzmiach Yeshua, right? So what's Memis Umchayim Atzmiach Yeshua teaching us?
Well,
This seems to be the summary. If we're going to sum up Mechal Chaim Chesed, this seems to be the summary. Who is he? Melech Memis Umchayim Atzmiach Yeshua. So what's been the theme all along? Okay, so what is it? What are these? Now let's divide them up. There's Memis Umchayim as one, and there's Matzmiach Yeshua, right? Memis Umchayim and Matzmiach Yeshua. So what do you think? How would you do? What are the two things are being shown here? Yeah. Let me just take that. So which is what? What does that mean then? If you could do one thing and do the exact opposite, so that's pure koach. Okay. Meimis Chaya is a nice, simple way of expressing koach. Pure koach. So what's the other one? What's another way of expression of koach? Yeah.
No, it's also.
All right. It's
the first part is focusing on complete omnipotence, and the second part is more like perfect hashgacha.
Oh, beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Can I get
Exactly.
Omnipotence.
Oh, his koach is unlimited.
Omnipotent.
Right. It's unlimited, all powerful being. Right. So that's very good. Right. In other words, he's saying this. I think we're ending up by saying that what are the two expressions? If you boil it down, the two expressions of koach Kadosh Baruch Hu. So one is the koach itself, maybe Simchaya, and the other one is in the perfection, Matzmiach Yeshua. In other words, in the implementation of God's plan, which is an expression of His Gvura, there's perfection in it. That's Matzmiach Yeshua.
Why is that perfection?
Because it's done because it is perfect. And when he acts in a way where the expression of it is always perfect. His control. God implements salvation. What?
Melech was there no Mashiach, right? Going back to that.
No, Melech.
I mean,
Yeshua.
Correct. Yes, Yeshua is the implementation. Here, it's referring. Matzmeach is the implementation, sprouting. Yeshua of the plan. So when he implements the plan, which the control he exhibits, right? He exhibits a complete control. But in the exhibition of complete control, right, you have to recognize there's a perfection in that. Like everything, every detail, every subatomic, whatever, is always perfect when God acts. Everything about it.